Chapter 96, Steps 8 and 9, Amends. 8th step. We made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9th step. We made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. The list of those I harmed. I started compiling it, and the first name was mine. Because in ACA, the 8th and 9th steps don't work quite the way they do in AA. In AA, you go to the people you've offended and ask forgiveness. In ACA, you go to yourself first, because the main person you've been harming all these years is yourself. Punished, didn't sleep, drank, denied yourself pleasure, lived in asceticism, chose people who couldn't love, stayed in relationships where they screamed, and called all of it life. How do you make amends for 41 years of not loving yourself? The program said, through reparenting, through treating yourself every day the way a good mother would treat her child, not perfect, good, one who sees, one who doesn't leave, one who speaks in a kind voice. The kind voice became what stood against the merciless critic, not through argument, through presence. The critic screamed, "You're defective." The kind voice answered quietly, "You're here. You're breathing. That's enough." It was weaker, but it didn't leave. I started speaking to myself differently, tenderly. The way I speak to Artem when he finally calms down in the evening and becomes warm, gentle, small. The way I speak to the cat that scratches, but I love anyway. On one of the ketamine sessions, I heard this voice more clearly than ever before. It said, "Sunshine, I'm so sorry you have to do all of this. Not you have to cope, not pull yourself together, but I'm sorry. The way a mother speaks to a child who is tired, the way no one ever spoke to me, like that, to myself, to that part of myself that for so many years waited for someone to say those words." And one more thing, from the same place, from the depths, from where ketamine removes all masks and leaves only truth, I'm so tired of conforming, so tired of being not real. I want to be a living girl. That is what needed to be made amends for. Not money, not time, not effort. 41 years of being unreal. 40 years of a robot that functions instead of living. Making amends to yourself means giving yourself permission to be alive. And then, the list of others. When I compiled it, it turned out the main people I'd harmed were two, Artem and Vanya. There were practically no others. With Artem, amends came not through the words, "Forgive me," through changing behavior every day, not screaming back at his screams, attacks, insults, using the kind voice, noticing his progress and telling him about it, putting him to bed every evening, lying beside him. When he had a meltdown, not screaming back, but being the adult who endures. It didn't always work. Sometimes I failed, screamed back a couple of times, and then didn't run into shame, didn't pretend nothing happened, didn't erase it from memory, but returned, said, "I'm sorry, I was wrong, it's not your fault. Mama was angry, but not at you, at her own pain." I gave up all social events, hobbies, and entertainment, engaged only in practices and inner work, to learn to withstand Artem's affect without crumbling, without screaming back. Vanya said, "I call you and all you do is breathe." I answered, "I'm doing everything I can to preserve the family. This is the most important thing in my life right now." Amends is not an event, it's a process, daily, imperfect, with setbacks. Every time his meltdown hit my trigger and I felt the wave rising, I tried to do it differently. Didn't succeed, tried again, like learning to walk after a fracture. Not beautiful, but walking. With Vanya, it was different. I wrote him a list of gratitudes. On a plane, on the way to Sadhguru. Long, specific, honest. Thank you for letting me take 6 months off work to sort through my crisis. This gave our relationship a chance. Thank you for sitting with the child while I go to seminars. Spent nearly a year with Artem as a single father. Sacrificed your interests and rest. Earn a lot so we lack nothing. Play with him. Play joyfully. I don't know how yet. Thank you for being generous not only to me, but also to my grandfather, sending him money. Thank you for coming to help when help was needed. I wrote and cried because I saw while I was compiling a list of grievances against him, and it was many pages long. I wasn't noticing what he did, and he did. Not the way I wanted, not with words, not with tenderness, not with a kind voice, with money, with presence. Making amends to Vanya isn't sorry for screaming. It's stopping running after him, stopping bending over backward to please, stopping drinking to have sex with him, stopping suppressing resentment and then exploding, starting to tell the truth, not accusations, but the truth about what I feel, starting to see him, real, alive, with his own fears, and not the figure onto which I project all my childhood expectations and then grievances that he isn't mother. With grandmother, it was the hardest, because grandmother has been gone for a long time. On February 31st, 2026, I conducted a ritual. By strange coincidence, on the day of her death. Not forgiveness, return. Through meditation, through breathing, through speaking to her. I said, take back what's yours. I don't need what's not mine. I return it. This was not forgiveness. This was separation. A boundary between her pain and mine. Between her life and mine. Between what she passed to me and what I choose to carry forward. And forgiving. Forgiving, I tried. Not because I forgave her actions, but because I was tired of carrying hatred. Hatred is a stone in your pocket that pulls you to the bottom. Forgiveness is not, you were right. Forgiveness is, I'm no longer willing to drown because of you. Did I fully succeed? I don't know. Feelings about grandmother are strong? Very. But the stone got a little smaller. After the ritual, it got lighter. Not empty, lighter. As if the stone in the pocket got a little smaller. With grandfather, it happened unexpectedly. I called him in hysterics, said everything, that he didn't love, didn't care, didn't protect, was detached, that beside him I felt invisible, that he went to the garage when grandmother beat me, that not once, did he stand between her and me, and asked, how did you show love? He thought, said, provided financially, argued with grandmother about you many times. They told him, you're nobody, you have no right. She's not your biological granddaughter. Said everything, hung up, and the next day learned he'd had a stroke beforehand. That night, he was already in the hospital when I called, and I gave him all of that, all that screaming, to a person after a stroke. When I found out for the first time in my life, I felt the fear of losing him, not in my head, in my body, actually felt it and registered it. Grandfather taught me what I hadn't seen for so many years, that presence without warmth is also love. Clumsy, insufficient, but love. I feel him as the most important family person in my life. I'm grateful to him for being able to withstand me and always being able to, and not crumbling from it like a wall, not warm, not soft, but a wall behind which you can exhale. After that, in the car, insights came, one after another. What he taught me. Presence. That's what. When you exist, without warmth, without involvement, but you exist, and the person feels it, like a vibration. You don't express it, it simply is, and that's enough. He was always there. simply was. And one more thing later from another journal. Grandfather loved me despite the fact that he couldn't help. That's actually such a strong love, such strength of spirit. And because of this, I know that you can love from a distance, that you can be cold, uninvolved, and teen and still love. Because of grandfather, I know that Vanya loves me, but I know this only with my head. To feel it, impossible, sad. But this is unconditional love, not because I earned it, not because I'm useful, simply because you exist. It turns out this was in my life from the very beginning. I call Grandpa and constantly tell him how much I love him, how grateful I am, and how much I need him. The ninth step will never end. It continues every day. Every time I choose the kind voice instead of the critic, every time I don't scream at Artem, though everything inside is burning. Every time I tell Vanya the truth. Not accusations, but the truth about what I feel, rather than pretending to be Fox and stockpiling resentments. Making amends is not words. It's life, a different one. One day at a time, one choice at a time, one kind word to yourself, instead of 1,000 cruel ones. My perfectionist and controller were thrilled. You can improve yourself through the body and make it more perfect. I directed all control inward, and a complete integration of opposites occurred. The rigidity that had destroyed me my whole life became a tool of softness. The control that suffocated became a method of relaxation. It was very beautiful. Before I couldn't do a body scan, Shri, when they said, notice the tension in your body. You can't notice it when everything is in spasm. When everything hurts, you can't tell what hurts specifically. But as more relaxation appeared, I began to notice. Right now, the abs, the bladder, the jaw and tongue, very tense. Before, the whole body was one continuous tension, and against that background, individual signals were indistinguishable. Forgiveness didn't come as a decision. It came as a sensation. One morning I woke up and noticed my jaw wasn't clenched. Not relaxed, just not clenched. As if something inside let go by 0.5 millimeter overnight. I didn't become better, simply slightly softer, and that was enough to understand. The body knows how to forgive before the head. Tongue lying soft, shoulders not down. The body forgave before the head.